My name is Ray Campbell, and today I'm going to show you how to paint this quince blossom with watercolor using easy to follow steps. So grab your paints and paint along with me. Now, we encourage you to draw freehand, but if you find the drawing element a little tricky, I provide you with a free outline that looks like this so that you can trace it onto your watercolor paper, and I'll tell you later on how to grab that for free. I'm using paper from the Beetle sketchbook and a small selection of paints from DeepDeepLight. I'm going to talk you through these one by one so you can join in with me here today. I've swatched out all my colours, and the first colour that I've chosen is Gerda's Pink. Then we have Rosso Magenta, Mirabelle. I did choose Soul of the Oak, but then I switched to Oak Moss and Partridge. And you can see here how I've blended the colours together. I've actually labelled it incorrectly there. It's actually Oak Moss, not Soul of the Oak, but that will do as good. You can see how I've layered the colours together with Gerda's Pink and Rosso Magenta glazing over each other on the top there. Two brushes. I'm using my Rosemary & Co. red dot spotter as well as my Snowdrop pointed round. Now, DeepDeepLight suggests that you awaken your paints with just a small drop of water, as I'm doing here. This will get the maximum benefit out of your colours. Now, if you are new to watercolour painting, watercolour is about building up layers from light to dark. So we're going to start by mixing the peachy tone that we see here with Gerda's Pink, along with the glorious Rosso Magenta. Now, if you have these colours, you can mix them individually or you can mix them together to get a similar tone that you see on my swatch paper to the side. We're going to add this layer to begin with, and this is our initial wash. We will be building up these colours as we go through the tutorial, so paint along with me, grab your paints and a nice cup of tea, and we can paint this together while I talk you through this in easy to follow steps so that even if you've never painted, you can give it a go. Remember, it isn't about perfection, it's about enjoying the process and learning to paint as you paint. I'm taking this mix of Gerda's Pink and Rosso Magenta over the elements that you can see here. I'm avoiding the middle section because we're going to be painting that separately with different colours. I'm only putting these colours where I want the pinky and peachy tones to be on the quince blossom. I'd like to say a quick thank you to my beautiful sister Kaz for letting us use the reference photograph. This is from Kaz's garden, and she's kindly allowed us to use this beautiful photo. Again, I'll tell you a little bit later on how you can have access to that reference photo and the outline for free so that you can join in with me here. I didn't want to put the reference photo in screen, it takes up too much real estate, and because I'm giving it to you for free anyway, you can print it out yourself or have it on your own screen. I'm adding Gerda's Pink to the blossoms as I see fit, and it doesn't matter which bits you put where. Key here is to just gently vary the colours that you're using so you can have a peachy tone and a pink tone, and you can switch them out wherever you want to. I'm going to put this on all of the other blossoms. I'm going to slightly speed it up for you and put some music on so that you can enjoy watching me in peace. After I finish this, I'll be right back with the running commentary. So that's the first layer of our paint on, and you'll see me there using the eradicator brush to gently erase any mistakes. All the materials that I'm going to be using will be listed underneath, by the way, so if I am going a little too fast for you, you can check them out down there. So we have a mislabeled Soul of the Oak, which is actually oak moss, along with partridge. Now these two colours together are perfect for the bark areas that we see here. This time I'm working wet in wet, which means I'm applying the paint to the paper first, and then I'm going to drop my pigment in where I've applied the water. This gives it a lovely blurred, soft, natural look, and it's great for your first layer. The colour that you see mixed in my little palette there is oak moss, and I'm going to drop this in here, as you can see me doing, and it'll just go where I've added that water. It's going to give a lovely soft diffused look, and we can build on that as we work through the tutorial. Just dropping it in with my number 2 Snowdrop Pointed Round from Rosemary, and just naturally sort of just gently teasing it into the paper where I want it to go. So this is oak moss, giving it a little bit of a mix because it is a granulating colour, which means that you do have to keep mixing it on your palette, otherwise it's just going to separate out. So I'm just going to drop that in where I've applied that pigment, applied that water, gently moving it into the existing colours. So you can see here I'm just gently manipulating that paint into the stems of the quince blossom and then just working down the stem here. Now the larger branch I'm going to use a different colour. For that I'm going to be using partridge, one of my favourite colours from DeepDeepLight, and I'll talk to you about that as I'm applying the next colour as we work through. So remember, these washes are just our initial washes, and you can just add a little bit of water here, and this time wet and wet again for the larger branch. And like I said, I'm going to be using partridge for this. Partridge has it's a super granulating colour. It has a lot of blue tones underneath, like a soft greyish blue that I absolutely adore. And you'll see in a moment when I'm dropping in the partridge to this wet paper, it's very, very magical. You can see the mix that I've got there. Plenty of water is needed for these granulating colours, by the way, to get the absolute maximum result. I'm applying it to the outside edge. Notice how it's blurring into that water that I've applied, giving it a soft diffused look that I adore. Now at the start of this tutorial I mentioned that I'd be giving you a free outline and reference photographs so that you can paint along with me, and they are free over on my free membership level at over on Patreon. I'm going to link the Patreon link in the description so that you can come over, join us there and grab your free outlines. There's no catch, my gift to you, so that you can join in with us here and paint along with us at DeepDeepLight Studio. That's going to just gently diffuse into that water and just look really, really natural. Remember, this is just our first layer. We're going to be building on these once that first layer is dry. It's all about patience and just taking your time. It's just trying to sort of be gentle with yourself and not give yourself any pressure as you're painting. I know, especially if you're new to watercolour, you can be very, very nervous about applying that paint. And there's no right or wrong way to do it, remember, it's just your way. And that's the thing that makes painting so beautiful. Each time I teach, I will get people painting the same thing that have very different results because we all have our own way of painting. This is all about learning skills for yourself and what works for you and adapting those skills so that you can become a braver and more confident artist. It's not about creating perfect pieces, remember, it's just about having a go and enjoying the process. So I'm just dropping in a little bit more of that beautiful partridge with a little bit more of a darker wash there. So that means I'm applying less water so that my pigment is a lot stronger, and that gives me a darker value, which gives the painting dimension. You can see from the swatches on the side of my book there where I've swatched them out from dark to light. That gives me a better idea of how that colour will perform on paper, because in the pan it's very difficult to see how that colour will look. So do give that a go too. We're going to be doing a lot of swatching videos here, so keep an eye out for those that will help you assess the colours and the values. Okay, so we're just carrying on mixing up these colours. This is a little bit of oak moss, and I'm just dropping it in on the other section of the little branches, as you can see, this time wet on dry, using my number 2 Snowdrop Pointed Round. So this is a little bit of oak moss. I do apologise for mislabeling my paint there. It is a beautiful colour, but I didn't choose Soul of the Oak, as you can see on my swatch card. I did think it was a little too similar to Partridge that I'd chosen, although there would be nothing wrong in that. I just thought I wanted something with a little bit of a slightly warmer tone. But if you've got those colours, then any one of those will do. Like I said, all the materials that I'm going to be using today, I will link in the description box underneath so that you can check them out for yourself. And I'm just continuing that process, wetting the paper and then dropping in that pigment just to add dimension. Okay, so everything's completely dry and we're back to mixing these bronze colours. So we're going with oak moss. It's a beautiful greeny kind of brown tone, perfect for my smaller branches here. And again, going back in with Partridge. I adore Partridge. I use it a lot for my paintings on my own channel, and I've used it to paint even subtle things like a magnolia, where you can just get that very, very gentle, soft undertone of the bluey grey that we have there. So I'm adding water to the paper again, and just dropping in the pigment in a moment. Like I said, even on small areas, sometimes wet and wet works really, really well. So I urge you to give this a go. I mean, painting can be a little bit daunting, especially if you've never tried it before. These watercolor paints are from DeepDeepLight are just amazing to work with. They're such amazing quality, and I've been using these paints for a couple of years now, and I have never once been disappointed with the performance or quality of them. They're handmade with love and care, and I adore them, and many of you that have purchased them agree with me. Dropping in these two colours to recap, it's oak moss and partridge, and you get that natural looking bark look with very little effort, as you can see here, how beautiful they look together once that paint has dried. So paint, just give it a go. We're all about getting people painting and enjoying the process and not being frightened to quote unquote make mistakes, because there are no mistakes. It's all about learning. And when you're not sure what to do next, just stop, pause and just take a look at your painting and just breathe. Trust your instincts and carry on. And remember, watercolor does have that what we call ugly stage, where it doesn't look quite right, and oftentimes it is just part of the process. So at the moment it's looking fairly disjointed because we need to put more colours on top of the colours we've already applied. With these granulating paints, it's really important to add a lot of water, by the way, to get the maximum benefit out of that granulation. So we're back to these two colours now, Gerda's Pink and Rosso Magenta. You'll see from my swatches to the left hand side of my book there that I've layered Rosso Magenta and Gerda's Pink, one being glazed over the other, and you can see how different that little dot looks on the side there. By glazing colours, that means applying a colour on top of a different colour, you can see the effect that I get. Or you can mix them together. It doesn't really matter. There are no rules here, but I wanted to demonstrate there how beautiful these colours look layered over one another. So at this point, the paint is completely dry. You have to wait for it to dry before you layer your paints, otherwise the colours will just merge together and you won't get the benefit of that layering. You can see me here using a mixture of Gerda's Pink, and I'm swapping it out with a little bit of Rosso Magenta. But I am leaving a little bit of that first wash untouched because I want to see that soft pinky peachy tone underneath the stronger layers. This will give the painting a little bit of depth and a little bit of interest. So I'm not going to take this colour everywhere. I'm going to leave gaps, as you can see me doing here. So I'm switching up Rosso Magenta with Gerda's Pink so that I can just add these here and there, as you can see me doing here, using my number 2 size Snowdrop pointed round. This synthetic brush has a lovely fine tip and it allows me to get into all the nooks and crannies of my painting without too much trouble. Constantly cleaning my brush in my clean glass of water there, wiping it on my kitchen paper and then just blending it into that existing wash. So we have Rosso Magenta going on now, straight onto the paper, leaving that pink tone underneath, just applying that stronger value and then blending it in with that damp brush so that you get that soft blur between washes. And you can see me doing it right the way through this tutorial, applying the colour, cleaning my brush and just patting it dry and then blending that colour through, but making sure that I leave that soft pink colour that's showing through underneath. Remember, there's no race with this. You can just take your time. You can pause the video. You can save it to your favorites. You can come back to it whenever you're ready. It's not about rushing the process. It's about enjoying it and learning to paint as you paint. And if you find that your pigments are not strong enough, you can leave that layer dry and go over it again. The beauty of watercolor is that it allows you to build up your colors as long as you let each layer dry before applying the next and put them on in thinner layers. Otherwise your painting could look overworked, and we don't want that. It's all about assessing your colors as you work through. We are giving you the tools here to create watercolor paintings that you can be proud of, but the key to this is just practicing and having a go. This is a full-length tutorial. We give these to you for free so that you can paint along and learn to paint and not be scared of giving it a go. This time I'm using Gerda's Pink to the base of this petal here, and I'm going to do the same for the others. So remember to leave that little gap underneath and just blend that in. So the sketchbook that I'm using, I touched upon this at the start, is the Beetle sketchbook. It's a 100% cotton. It's handmade and it's quite delicate, but I really enjoy working on this, and I think it handles deep light paints very well and shows them off beautifully. It is a little bit nervous of the eraser, so if you like doing a lot of erasing, then this isn't for you because it will start to disintegrate, but give it a go. If this is a look that you really enjoy as I do, then please just check it out because I'm really enjoying using it. So I'm doing the same thing again. Notice how I'm not blending that colour all the way through this time. I'm just using my brush for little squiggly lines to create texture within each piece of that petal. And carry on the process, working through Rosso Magenta, Gerda's Pink, switching them out so that I have a slight variation, and that way the colour doesn't look flat. You can see how it's beginning to take shape. Remember to head over to Patreon to grab that free outline and of course the reference photo so that you can paint along with me and take your time, and you can pause the video, come back to it. Like I said, you can download it, whatever you want to do, and you can see me here just speeding up the process, same all the way through, and just make sure that I've got those layers in place for that variation that we are looking for. Okay, everything's completely dry, and now we're going to look at the middle sections. And for this, we're going to kick off with Mirabelle. This gorgeous yellow colour is perfect for the centre. And again, we're not going to be too fussy. I'm going to use Mirabelle. We've got a tiny bit of Partridge there and a tiny bit of Gerda's Pink to mix another brown colour, which will be the centre. So straight on to the watercolour paper with Mirabelle in the middle. Everything's dry, of course, so those colours are not merging together, and I'm going to apply this colour to the centre of each of the quince blossom, dropping in a little bit of that mix there. So to recap, that's Mirabelle with a tiny bit of Partridge and a tiny bit of Gerda's Pink, just to soften out the yellow of the middle sections of these quince blossom. And you can see me here just adding that brown tone, working around the stamen and anther, and a little bit to the base of each of these as well. I just want to recap on the colours. It's Gerda's Pink, Rosso Magenta, Mirabelle, Oak Moss and Partridge. Just a handful. Going over again, Wet n Wet, just to add a bit more dimension to that bark, and by adding water first and then dropping in the pigment as before, you'll see that it just does the work for me, and it's creating a textured looking bark without too much work. And if the paint makes the job easier, then I think that's a good thing. So I love this pigment for that reason, is because it naturally blurs into the water, you can get that really soft, natural looking bark effect. But key is to add a lot of water if you're going to get the most out of your granulating paints, especially the colours that have more than one colour granulation, as this one does. Then it's important that you add a lot of water, especially with these beautiful handmade paints. Drawing a little circle in here and just blurring it out with a bit of water and whatever paint's left on my brush for a little bit of dimension there, and whatever's left on my brush I'm adding to the filaments on this little one here. Adding a tiny bit of Rosso Magenta to Mirabelle to create a nice kind of orangey shade, or I could have just used Gerda's pink, it doesn't really matter. Like I said, it's not about perfection, it's all about just trying and seeing how gently you can get these tones to perform and just giving it a go really. I'm using Gerda's pink here to add a little bit more detail, and I'm always blending it in using my brush that is just clean and damp. Again, everything's dry. I've wiped down that little palette there. These make great mixing palettes, by the way, these little tins from DeepDeepLight. I've put them in this little empty tin that I had, and just 5 colours. Mixing up the same as before, we've got Gerda's pink, Rosso Magenta, along with a little bit of partridge. And now I'm just negatively painting around some of the stamen and anther, as you can see. So we're just closing up those gaps a little bit to create a bit of texture, a bit of form, and a bit more shape. A little dot in the middle there, just to give it a little bit more shape. So I'm going back over the existing washes again, this time adding a little bit more dimension with some more of the same colours, and just blending them in as I work through. So you saw me there using a little bit more oak moss, just going over the base sections of some of the blossoms. I felt that it had a more muted tone where it hits this stem, so that's what I'm doing here. And again, going over to add a bit more dimension and form. You can keep building up your colours until you're happy with the tone that you have. It's entirely up to you how much pigment you want to apply. You might want to leave them soft and gentle and peachy and pinky, or you can brighten them up a little bit more to get a stronger, more vibrant tone. It's your painting, so make it your own and just do whatever you want to. As I said at the start, we're all about making art easy and accessible for everybody, and, just enjoying the process. Let yours be yours and don't worry about making mistakes or getting it quote unquote wrong. It's about enjoying it, having fun, joining in, giving it a go. Even if you think that you might not be able to do it, give it a try. You may even surprise yourself, and I bet you enjoy it. So at this point, it's just continuing the process by building up the colours. You can see the colours that I'm swatching out. We've got a few minutes left on this video yet until it reaches its completion, but I'm going to stop talking now and let you watch the rest of this video in peace so that you can enjoy the process, and I'll play some really relaxing music for you to enjoy the rest of it. I'm going to say thank you so much for watching. My name is Ray Campbell. I really hope that you've enjoyed this video. As mentioned, grab your free outline over on Patreon and check out all the materials listed in the description box underneath this video. Thank you so much for watching. Watch the rest of this video, enjoy the process, and I'll see you soon.